Hello and a warm welcome to another edition of To The Point. On the show this week, Minister of State for Prime Minister's Office and also someone who is in charge of the Northeastern region. I welcome Dr. Jitendra Singh on To The Point.
Thank you, Nilu.
My first question on a very light note is that Dr. Jitendra Singh is a doctor by profession and he's supposed to be known as a doctor with a golden hand. Is that true?
I don't know how to respond to that, but if that is what you've gathered, it's very encouraging and of course very humbling.
But sir, in terms of, yes, I asked you this question in terms of the fact that since the time you took over the northeastern states, the party, the government has been doing quite well, you know, as far as the development and other narratives in the region are concerned. So how do you really look back, you know, this entire 4 years,
yeah,
4.5 years?
I'm glad that you gave me an opportunity to speak on this subject. There's no doubt, and I think that's been now universally and unanimously accepted, that there has been a revolutionary transformation in the northeastern region over the last 5 years. But I think the single most important contribution is from the Prime Minister himself.
Okay.
And something which seldom occurs to our minds and which is not seldom talked about is that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has travelled to Northeast not less than as many as 35 times in less than 5 years. I think this is more than the number of total number of trips undertaken or visits undertaken by all the Prime Ministers put together in the past. So that personal outreach has made has accorded such a high priority to the region that it percolates down to the bottom. And when we came in, and I realized that most of the people even in northeastern region found it difficult to access the department or the Ministry of Northeast. So I hit upon a new kind of an experiment, which I to be honest, took the cue from the British Raj, because they used to have a rotating, you know, capitals, because the size of provinces was long. It was a big undivided Bengal, it was undivided central province, it was undivided Madras state, it was undivided Bombay state. So we started a rotation of the camp secretariat of the donor ministry amongst all these states. So each month by rotation, we set up our ministry secretariat in one of these states. For example, if it is in Assam this month, the next month it will be in Manipur, then in Tripura, and therefore it could send out a message that, look here, for the redressal of a grievance, a person from Northeast or a citizen from Northeast need not necessarily travel to Delhi each time. Delhi can travel to his doorstep, or donor can travel to his doorstep, and we named it as DONER at doorstep, which became quite popular and also enabled our officers to gather the ground inputs over there. And as far as, of course, the development activity is concerned, I can go on and on because the list is so long. But to sum it up, some of the unique things which could have happened, which could have been taken up in the last 65 years, but were not taken up possibly because of the different kind of priorities of the earlier governments. At least there were 2 or 3 states which had never seen a train. For example, Meghalaya, for example, Arunachal Pradesh. Today we have a broad gauge network being spread all these states. The Prime Minister was there at Itanagar in Arunachal, and the Arunachal Express was flagged off by him. I look forward to having a Rajdhani as well. We have the first ever train to Bangladesh from Agartala, which is, the track is being funded by the donor ministry. As far as the airports is concerned, can you imagine, in the last 40 years since Sikkim became a part of India, we did not have an airport in Sikkim. So it was the personal intervention of Prime Minister, not once but more than once, through his video Pragati
so you're happy that the underdeveloped tag, which we had earlier heard of the northeastern region, it's no more relevant, and it's
certainly
no more
not. It's as much developed as India. And one of the, because when I came into the donor ministry, I would go around asking everybody what's it all about, because I was trying to educate myself about the region. Even I was not much acquainted prior to that. And everybody would tell me, why not do something to bring Northeast closer to the rest of India? So one day it occurred to my mind, why nobody says, why not do something to bring India closer to the rest of India closer to the Northeast, because there's so much to learn from this. This is an unexplored potential. And now Prime Minister gave us an incredible Startup India, Stand Up India program. To that, our ministry has added the incentive of venture funds. So, any youngster or a group of youngsters who wish to try their fortunes in the northeast would be funded by us.
So, a land which was not explored, the government has been successful in making it into a land of opportunities. But my question, sir, is now regarding the Citizenship Amendment Bill, which was recently in Parliament. And there's a lot of unrest now which is seen in the northeast, especially Assam. What is this bill about, and what are the objectives of the bill? Would like to understand from you.
No, I am glad, because this gives us an opportunity to clarify a number of misgivings which have been somehow inadvertently floated around. The Citizenship Bill would entitle the religiously persecuted persons from Bengal to take the citizenship, but that does not necessarily mean that it will be the sole responsibility of the government of Assam or the people of Assam. So, that is something which requires to be clarified. They would be free to settle anywhere in India, and it would be the responsibility of India as a whole, or the government of India as a whole, not solely that of the government of Assam. So, therefore, the kind of motivated speculation which is sought to be floated among the student community, that look here, you will be devoid of your opportunities in higher education or opportunities of jobs, is misplaced, because these citizens would be they would be free to settle anywhere across the country. And this is not necessarily for those coming from Bengal, it could be from the other countries as well. So, let us look at this citizenship bill as a bill of the entire country of India rather than Assam specific, since somehow consciously or unconsciously, the impression has gone that this is Assam specific, which has ended up creating some misgivings. But I am glad that now, with the kind of outreach that we have tried to seek to clarify and to try to put the things on record, I think much of this apprehension has gone down.
From what you're saying, that this bill has to be seen from the context, from the pretext of the entire country.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, does it bring a new citizenship regime completely in the country?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because after all, it's also the responsibility of the government of India to take care of those of these persecuted citizens who would otherwise have nowhere to go. So, as a responsible state, we also have to offer them some kind of a respite and a shelter. So, it's a part of that that approach and that mindset. It's certainly not meant to cause an extra liability or burden on Assam, which is not going to be so.
Why is it that the unrest is too much in Assam? Because we have an NRC exercise also taking place. So, does it conflict? I mean, is there any kind of conflict between NRC and the Citizenship Bill?
No, I don't think so. As I said, there was initially there was some part of a speculative confusion, and then there were some political motivations to create confusion. But now, the outreach has been among the student community, among the youth primarily, which has allayed all these fears. And I said, let's not, in a single sentence, if we understand and make others understand that it's not Assam specific, it's India specific.
Right.
These citizens are coming down not to settle or take away the slot from Assam alone. The cake is too big. The entire India is a cake for them. So, if that is made to be understood, I think much of the apprehension is over.
What kind of a political impact do you see of the Citizenship Bill coming as it does? General elections are around the corner, and do you see any kind of a political impact?
I think by and large, all over the country, this has been welcomed.
Okay.
And there was sometimes spoken, sometimes half spoken, sometimes not spoken opinion that we should go ahead with something like this, because you can't allow these persecuted minorities from other countries to suffer when they have no other country to give them shelter.
I was reading a quote of Manipur Chief Minister Jitendra Singh, who said that there is no need to panic, of course, over the passage of the bill. But at the same time, he said that a state government does not necessarily has to go always according to the directives of the centre. So, are there any kind of...
I can't say in what context the Chief Minister may have made that statement. But as I said, even the Manipur and the other states have started now asking for a citizenship registry. So,
okay.
I don't think there is any conflict as far as that is concerned.
Okay. And as you said that the migrants will be encouraged to settle elsewhere other than Assam. So are they going to be given incentives?
Not necessarily. No. To be very specific, I don't mean that they would be encouraged. They would be at liberty, and of course, depending on state to state, place to place, incentives might be forthcoming.
Okay. So is there any official announcement regarding this coming soon or?
No, that, see, the bill has been just passed.
Right.
And the follow-up would happen. But what is inherent in the bill itself is that this is not Assam specific, and the initial apprehension has arisen on account of that.
Okay. Moving on now from the northeast, coming to J&K, and PDP Chief Mehbooba Mufti, just a few hours ago, she made a statement saying that the local militants are sons of the soil. How would you read her statement?
No, I see, it also depends on in what context it is being said. Every citizen of India is a son of soil. But one son of soil is not at liberty to kill the other son of soil. So, the rule of land holds its sway all over the country, and why not so in Kashmir? So, that is the question. The Jawans, the security personnel who are being killed are as my sons of soil. Rather, they have offered themselves to sacrifice their lives and make the highest, the supreme kind of sacrifice for the sake of nation. So, don't you think they should be given a precedence? So, if a statement is made in a context or in a vein which tends to belittle the contribution being made by the security personnel for which the entire nation is indebted, I think then certainly it's not welcome.
She said
and there is some political motivation. And let me add to what you say, that the so-called Kashmir-centric political parties, and I have been saying this at the risk of sounding little unorthodox, are actually only so-called mainstream by camouflage. When they are out of power, they use the same jargon, they practice the same strategy, the same tactics as the separatists. And then, in fact, they indulge in a kind of a competitive separatism. If one of these Kashmir-centric so-called mainstream parties issues a statement, the other one tries to make it in a louder voice. So, this is a very dangerous phenomenon. This has been happening year after year. And I think these Kashmir-centric political parties, and so also Congress, which has been there in power both in the state and the center for almost half a century, has been alternately in power with, in alliance with them or even individually, has contributed the maximum, beginning from the Nehruvian blunders. You see, we talk of Pak-occupied Jammu Kashmir, which is till today an unfinished agenda for India, and has been a legacy of Jawaharlal Nehru, because he did not allow his Home Minister Patel to function as a Home Minister. And when the forces were about to capture the territory occupied by Pakistan, the Prime Minister, without taking the Home Minister into confidence, went ahead and spoke to nation on the in a broadcast to nation on All India Radio and declared a ceasefire. So, all these experimentations and blunders have been happening through successive governments, and now this the policy of appeasement of a certain section, which began by the Congress party, and they would alternately toppling the governments, rigging elections, placing Sheikh Abdullah in chair, then removing him, placing Farooq Abdullah, then replacing him, and the rigged elections of 1987, etc., has now come to such a pass that they have in fact deteriorated to the appeasement of terrorists. The appeasement of a certain section of society, leading on to the appeasement of the separatists, and now the appeasement of terrorists and their perpetrators, which is a very dangerous phenomenon.
But as Mehbooba Mufti also said, that not only the Hurriyats but even the local militants need to be engaged. Now, when she talks about engaging such people, is there a plan where these local youths who are getting into extremist activities, we engage them, we bring them into mainstream, into some kind of development activity?
Let me tell you what she or what are these politically motivated Kashmir-centric leaders are saying is far from truth. At the outset, let me say with all the responsibility at my command that the Kashmir youth is already engaged.
Okay.
Let's not forget the statistics, because we live in an evidence-based era today. For the last few years, every year we have a topper among the first 20s in the civil service IAS exam.
Right.
This year, incidentally, it was 30th topper, not among the 20. Year before last, we had a boy from Anantnag, second topper, the most one of the terror affected. So, we had as many as 38 children from the most terror affected districts of Kashmir Valley who qualified for IIT and NIT through that IIT JEE exam in the last exam held. We have only about 3 weeks back, an exam was conducted for the fire services.
Okay.
And there was a hartal call, a band call, a boycott call by the separatists, by all these so-called Kashmir sympathizers. But in spite of that, there was 100% attendance. So the youth of Kashmir is very intelligent, well connected, well informed, and let's not forget this is third generation of post-independence India after 1990. They do not wish to squander their, prime years.
Right.
And therefore, the youth has moved ahead. Only these politicians are still living in the past. And they are trying the tricks of the, and as I always say, they are trying the tricks of the last election, which will not work in the coming election.
Okay. Okay. So, let me now move on from J&K to the larger picture which is evolving politically in the country. And I would like your view on the way the parties are coming together under the banner of so-called Grand Alliance or the Mahagathbandhan or the Mahakutumi, I don't know how to put it. But how do you really see the alliance coming up?
See, I think the kind of attention which is being attracted by this so-called Mahagathbandhan is out of proportion. It doesn't deserve that. But since it sounds fanciful and therefore obviously it becomes a subject of conversation. As Shri Arun Jaitley ji said the other day, it's a Mahagathbandhan of rivals. And to add to what he has very beautifully said, I would say it is also a Mahagathbandhan of the prime ministerial aspirants. It's not a Gathbandhan of political parties. They are all a group of individuals who have been perpetual aspirants for prime ministership, right from the times of Mrs. Indira Gandhi. I don't wish to name them, you know them very well. So, I don't know how it works. And the sole agenda and the very fact that they have come together is a betrayal of their inner realization that they could not face Narendra Modi alone. But the people of the country have made up their mind.
Right.
They wish to have Narendra Modi to lead the nation for several years to come, and therefore I don't think this is going to work. And the decisive voter today, as I said, what most of us in the political class tend to forget is that the tricks of the past decades are not going to work anymore. We have more than 50% of the population in India today which is below the age of 28 years. We have more than 70% of the population in India today which is below the 40 years. They are so well informed and so scrutinizing that even when I am speaking to you right now, they would go to the Google and check whether the figure quoted by me is right or wrong. So that kind of scrutiny is being, expected and subjected to for the people in the public life. So this post-1990 generation is the decisive voter today. And they go by rationale.
Right.
And they are highly aspirant. And their aspirational youth knows his or her stakes better than the earlier generation. And they know that their future stakes can be best protected in a stable government provided by a visionary Prime Minister like Narendra Modi.
But sir, the political losses which we saw in states like Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, obviously it was some kind of a setback, though party did well, quite well, in terms of numbers, even despite anti-incumbency. So, in a scenario like this, what are the plans to keep the allies together? Because as we saw RLSP quitting, then in Assam due to the Citizenship Bill we saw AGP quitting, Shiv Sena keeps flexing its muscles. So how do you keep the allies together?
Yeah, you asked quite a few things in a single question. Now, shall I tell you something very interesting? Now, as far as Madhya Pradesh is concerned, our vote share has gone up. In fact, the Bharatiya Janata Party's vote share has gone up, though we couldn't form the government. Now, the Congress party, when it loses a government but goes up in vote share, it rejoices that. So, heads we win, tails you lose, I mean something like that. When we won hands down the urban local body elections in Jammu and Kashmir, which was held just about 2 months back, you reported it very extensively. We have a mayor in the Jammu Corporation, we have a mayor even in Srinagar Corporation supported by us. We were accused or mocked for celebrating what they described as defeat. So, the Congress spokespersons would say the BJP is celebrating defeat because its vote share has gone up, even though they have swept all the corporations and municipal councils and committees. Now, if we go by the same formula which was invented by Congress, not by us, then they should be conceding defeat in Madhya Pradesh, because our vote share has gone up, even though they have a chief minister, but they would not do that. What I was just trying to say a few moments earlier, these tricks don't work now because the youth is very scrutinizing. He can immediately pull up from the memory of what has been said in his mobile records. But having said that, of course, as far as BJP is concerned, this is a full-time party. This is not a Ma-Beta party or a Baap-Beta party. It's not a kitchen coterie party. We have a discipline in place. We have a very, very strong organizational control. Just see our national president, Shri Amit Shah, election is over today and the result is yet to come. He would hold a meeting the same evening for the next election, which is going to be held in another state after about 8 months. So, this is a full-time party. And therefore, every election, big or small, is a test for us, is an also opportunity to introspect. If we win, we have to realize what factors have made us victorious and enabled us to form the government, how we can replicate them in the other states. If we are falling short of our expectations, that itself is a matter of introspection. But I think what is most remarkable and unprecedented in the history of India's democracy is that when in Madhya Pradesh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan was no longer chief minister, you had women folk weeping, wailing, crying. So, it was a strange paradox. Instead of celebrating the formation of new government, they were actually dazed what happened. So, maybe some local factors, sometimes anti-incumbency against some local legislators had possibly not been tackled in a manner that it could have been more fruitful. But certainly, we learn lessons from that. But overall, I can rest assure you, the people who voted against, because it's a very small margin. For example, in Madhya Pradesh also a few hundred votes would have just turned the tables. Those who did not vote for Bharatiya Janata Party are also now regretting why they didn't so.
Okay.
And therefore, in Lok Sabha, you would see, we would have a thumping majority.
Okay. In political jargons, it's said that, you know, the throne of Delhi goes via Uttar Pradesh, and we've just seen the Bua Bhatija alliance, what you call the Samajwadi Party and the BSP coming together. Does that in any way worry the party or the government?
See, as I said, this is a party which runs with a certain discipline and it's a 24-hour party, cadre base. So, everything is taken note of and the strategies are put in place. But at the same time, as I was saying a few moments earlier, the tricks of the past election are not going to work in the coming election.
Okay.
And as I said, the decisive voter is going to be the youth. It's not that easy to sway. I was made in charge of the elections in Delhi Corporation, which held about a year or so back. There too, these factors were sought to be overplayed, and you see the results, what happened. So, I think we don't have to get too much disturbed. Maybe it's their desperation. They are trying to hook on to the formula that was successful about 4 elections back. But the youth and the voter has moved on.
You always end up having an additional charge of some state or the other, with a man being who's like 24/7, you're on toes. Where do you see yourself in the coming elections?
That's for the party to decide. That's party, because our grooming and training has been absolutely subservient to the requirements of the Sangathan. So, it's a different kind of a mindset. But I think what's important is that you try
because
to…
Because organizationally also, Dr. Jitendra Singh is a very strong man.
That's kind of you. But what I'm saying is that it's been ingrained into us that we have to perform to our best. We should be appearing to be performing to our best, honestly. And as I said, in these 5 years, even I have not taken a 5-hour leave. Okay. So, and we try to give our best. And even if when I am among my constituents, I tell them, look here, I did my best with all the sincerity at my command. It's now for you to judge. More, I could have done more if only God had converted a day from 24 hours into 48 hours. So, this is a party, and I am glad this is Bharatiya Janata Party, and the Sangathan Parivar gives opportunity depending upon your hard work, your potentials, and therefore somebody like me could also, find some opportunity to serve the nation.
Right. Wish you all the best, Dr. Jitendra Singh. It's a pleasure talking to you. So that's it on this episode of To The Point. See you next time with another personality. Goodbye and thanks for watching.